Amanda Munchies with the Pud Show, and we are back. We are here at Hempful Farms talking with Chris Martin about his book, One Life, which I've had the pleasure of reading. And so we're just going to dive some more into this. And it's just so amazing talking to you and interesting. So I promised before we went to break that we'd get into some of the positive that comes at the end of this book. So why don't you say what you just said, though, about how you feel about the end of the book, and then let's talk about some of the revelations that come at the end. But
yeah, I'm just really proud of the ending. I'm really proud of the way I got to utilize Andy's voice. I think that's probably the message that's heard the least. You know, I'm always the one on camera. I'm always the one in front of the microphone. And before, that used to bother me. And then I got used to it because I realized I had to fight for my family. But now it's kind of like, you know, I want more attention on my wife and on my family because they were the fighters. They were the ones that were new to this. They were the ones that didn't understand the system. They didn't understand prison or the rules. And honestly, for me, I don't want to say it was easy because that'll make it sound very arrogant. Never was it easy, but it was familiar. Like I understood. I knew how to do it. So for me, the end of the book really let me allow the reader to understand my wife's point of view, which I think is the unsung hero point of view, really.
Well, and as a female reader, I definitely, in the beginning of the book, you know, there's these girls who kind of console you, and so, and the whole time I'm wondering, like, I got to be honest. Well, so I mean, in my head, I'm like, so I know he's got a wife. Where does she come in? Where's her, you know, where is she? And so it was so nice at the end to have her voice in there and to have that perspective and how it was different from, you know, your voice that was definitely throughout the story. So I think that was a really nice way to bring that voice in.
It's kind of my message too, is showing, you know, how lost you can be through your life until you find that somewhere. Like I've wandered through, you know, and maybe the lack of having that mother figure from my childhood forced that walk. So then I was really like, are you? Or are you? Or how about you? And it never allowed me to really, you know, genuinely, honestly give myself into a relationship or vice versa. So I think that's what's neat about the book. It really shows when that connection's made. It shows the build-up, the climax, of like, he almost made it. Oh, he almost did it again.
Well, it's a small love story too. I mean, there's a little love story in there. If you're reading and paying attention, there's definitely a little love story in there as well. So that was a nice surprise as a reader as well. I found it. So there's some other good things, revelations I'm going to call them, that I found at the end of the book. You know, the whole book definitely had me angry. I think I was reading and I was mad. I was mad for you. I was mad at the system. I was mad for your family. I was just, and so, you know, there was definitely a point where I was like, am I going to read this book and like want to go punch somebody, or is there some, you know, good end to this? And so, I mean, of course I know there's some good end because I know this is here, but you know, what was that end? And so it was really awesome to start hearing about some of the good things you did. So while you were in jail, prison, right? You did some really good things. One of them being a dinner, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, everyone knows that, everyone that's been to prison knows that it's very segregated. Many tend to think that the inmates are the reason that it's segregated. I can tell you that many of the old school inmates will carry it that way because that's the way it's been perpetuated forever. But I can also tell you that it's not only perpetuated from the top. When I landed in Yuma, the first prison I was in, the LT on the yard, the first question out of his mouth was, who do you run with? And my comment to him was, Nikes. I was just trying to be the funny guy and show him I'm not going to play his game. And he said, come on, white boy, you know who you sleep with. And they put me with the white guys. So at that moment, you know that rhetoric is still being funneled. So you know it's going to carry on through the yard. Not every yard is acceptable to change. especially the higher security yard. So this yard was a higher security yard. As I got cozier and had done more of my time, I was reclassed to a minimum yard. Once I hit the minimum yard, I realized the goods and the bads, the pros and cons of the minimum yard. The bads being there's younger people in the yard, younger guys, and a lot more drugs. So I felt like I had to intervene. I've known my walk on this planet was bigger than going to jail or even writing a book or whatever. I know that it's been here to help me. And when I landed on this minimum yard after already doing time before and seeing how bad the drugs are and how bad no one really cares, I was compelled to do something. So I stepped outside the box a little bit. Normally, in order to step up and do something, you have to be in a leadership role. So luckily, I was already in that position due to my tenure in prison, my number, my DOC number, and how old I was. So I took it upon myself to organize a dinner, and that dinner was for everyone. Not just white guys, not just tall guys, not just clean guys, for everyone. And the way it worked was we would go around and take a donation. If you had some chips or you had some soup, and then I would, as a chef, go make dinner. Well, I could tell that the yard had been under different rule because nobody wanted to donate anything. They felt like they were going to get robbed right away.
Take their chips.
And I was like, wait a minute, you don't know me, but I'm not here to rob anyone. So they started to tell me, well, we've been robbed so many times, drugs are so bad, this is how it's been ran. So I just asked for one opportunity. You just show me, let me show you what I can do. So I started collecting meal and I matched everything that I collected just to show them that, look, it's coming out of my pocket. Then when the meal came, I offered bowls to everyone. There were some people that had some issues with that. Some old school guys that have been around a long time. And I just broke it down real simply. I had a 70-year-old guy come sit on my bed. And he said, look, I mean no disrespect, and you run the yard, but I can't deal with this everyone eating together thing. And I real calmly put my hand on his shoulder and I said, did you say that to any of the other races? And he said, well, no, I thought I'd come to you first. I said, then get off my bed. And he looked at me like, whoa, youngster. And I said, look, old timer, I love you. But you got to understand you're on a bit of a yard and you're going home. So is everyone else in this building, which means everyone else in this building is going to be your neighbor at some point. You might as well live with it now. And I think by people hearing that, it almost let up a little bit of that tension, that racial tension. By the end of our dinner, we had started to organize a kickball game, which the kickball game turned into a very big competition between the buildings. We had 5 buildings on the yard, and the building I happened to be placed in to take over was the biggest misfit building on the yard.
So not a good team?
No, mainly a lot of the drug addicts, a lot of the guys that got in trouble.
Okay.
We were known as the vampire team because nobody had been outside. Most of these guys were so pale or so, just, they hadn't been outside in so long, and this is going to do them some good or kill most of them. Who knew? We didn't know. The neat part was we got the game organized. We went out and my building beat Building 5, which was a very competitive, very athletic building, and our guys beat them. The last inning, a good kick, cleared the bases, and we won. We didn't win the championship. It was Mater, yes.
Mater.
Mater, our guy Mater, not very athletic guy. The guy didn't have very much faith in himself, much as the faith that the other guys had in him, and he kicked the winning run. And to see these guys just hug each other afterwards showed that all it takes is a little bit of love, a little bit of compassion, and you can help someone gain something that they've never had. And I learned that in prison. So the book was necessary. The documentary was almost mandatory. I feel like those programs, along with coloring books for convicts and...
Wait. That's another one. He's got another one. He did more good stuff. So wait, how did that start? Coloring book for convicts. What is this? Where do we find it? Do we find it? Can we contribute?
You can go on to Facebook. Go under Coloring Books for Convicts. That's another nonprofit that we run. I sell inmate artwork. I sell inmate hobby craft. There's a lot of talented people in there for pot that are just sitting there making origami.
Because of cannabis.
Yeah, still. And
Don't. Let them out.
when you make 10 cents an hour, if you do the math, that's $8 every 2 weeks. So you make way less money, but when you go to the store and you buy top ramen that costs you $1.60 for one versus 10 for $1 like out here,
Right.
you know, the math doesn't add up. So we felt that the Coloring Books for Convicts program was a way for people to still gain revenue and put money on their books and feel human and feel like a
how did
dad.
you start that? Because that started,
It
the
was
story's in the book. I don't want to give the whole book away, but how did you start it?
I was
You're a
having.
big colorer, you've always colored.
Oh, yeah, I look like a big colorer.
Like you love coloring? I mean,
I went from president of a motorcycle club to coloring book artist. No, honestly, I started it because my wife's a genius. It should be Andy Martin's story. She started to send me coloring books in jail, and honestly, I wrote her back and said, "Are you trying to get me killed?" Someone's gonna see me with Barbie, and it's gonna go bad. But no, she sent me these books to really help with my temper and to help with my patience, to keep my head right. So I took the books and I would put my headphones on and I would find a corner and just zone, completely get out of prison. I would send the artwork home and my wife would post it online. Well, dispensaries started like arguing over who could buy it for more, and then it became an auction. And I'm not that good. I could tell it was really just to help my family.
right.
But what do I need with $300 for a page that I colored? I don't need the money. So I felt like there's a way that I could take that feeling and that program and give it to someone who needs it. And it just so happens that one of the gang affiliates in there from another gang came up to me and goes, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And I showed it, and he was like, "Can I color?" And I was just honestly taken back.
They're all coloring teddy bears.
It's so
We just
funny.
didn't know. We just didn't know.
Really funny. So I hand him the coloring book. He picks out a page. His is one of the first ones to sell. We put the money on his books. He actually could pay his child support that month. He had never been so happy and proud. And next thing you know,
What a
he's
great
telling
feeling for
everyone.
him.
He's running around handing out coloring books, and literally, that's how it got started.
Awesome.
It went from the coloring book to then I saw hobby craft. I saw people making lighthouses and
On toilet paper,
motorcycles
so,
out of-
right? I
yeah.
mean, you've showed me a piece or two of the artwork before, and it's amazing. And you had it on the Convicted Creations,
Right.
which you also do, which is another cannabis show, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's not a cannabis
No,
show.
it's actually a cookbook made from prison food. We started to make recipes out of food in prison. So I'd go through the commissary list because I couldn't eat a lot of it, and I wrote a recipe book. Well, then as I'm making stuff, people would come up and go, "What are you doing? How do I do that?" Or "I'm sick too." And then we would just put all our heads together and make a bunch of stuff. And then old timers that were there would bring me their recipes. Like, "Hey chef, can you fix this?" Or do something different like this. And it ended up being a joke. Like, I literally was teasing people, like, "I'm gonna go out and be Martha Stewart. You're gonna laugh. I'm gonna cook all this food on TV, and everyone's gonna laugh. Like, you made tamales out of Doritos, and we never saw it."
Sweet and sour chicken, I think, or it wasn't chicken, it was pork
Chinese
rind,
food,
right?
yes.
The pork rind?
Sweet and sour Chinese food with
Yeah.
Kool-Aid and pork
Yes.
rinds. I mean, it's just,
Although that cannot be healthy for you. That would
it's-
not be good for your brain.
No, I didn't say I took
Okay.
any calories out of it.
Okay, I was
but
gonna
no, it's
say.
definitely not good. And I would probably venture to guess that not many people would eat it out here now. It's just amazing, when you're starving after
For
3
sure.
weeks, you'll eat
For sure.
anything.
And even I think to see how creative people can get is
Really?
also really interesting. I mean, for me, I was like, wait, a sweet and sour sauce using red Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
I mean, it took them the whole container, but red
What?
Kool-Aid? Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was definitely impressed.
Well, I think for me too, it was to help people understand that they're not a victim. Like, you don't have to be, your future's not determined by that bad decision.
Right.
Not everyone had the story like mine, like crooked cops and trying to nail you to a wall over a plant. I mean, there are some people that should be there.
Right.
But does that mean for life?
Right.
Does that mean 25 years after they get out that they're a piece of crap?
Right.
No, but that's exactly the way we program them.
Sure.
and the way society's programmed to treat them.
Yes. So we don't have any, like, you have to have background checks for almost every single job there is today,
Absolutely.
which, how do you even get a job? I'm a regular person who had a DUI a long time ago, and I know I fear every time,
Right.
and that's a DUI, and again, like, a regular person makes mistakes, we all make mistakes, you're a regular person with a joint, like, these are not things that we should be losing our livelihood over. These are things that we should be understanding better, learning how to figure out. So like DUIs in our country is a huge issue. We should figure that out, not just throw everyone in jail, because that's not fixing
Well, how
the problem.
about instead of letting alcohol companies advertise for the largest sporting events when it kills 500,000 people a year, maybe let's a Planet or something else that's a little more healthy do the same thing. You know?
Well, or even one of my ideas was, so when I was convicted, right, and Dirty Cops too, not anywhere near your story, but still a shady story, and same thing, was told you can't say a cop's lying, you can't do that. It's like, but he is, and you can't say that. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And a shady lawyer who, so shady on top of shady on top of shady in a system, and at the end of the day, you're at a loss. I mean, my lawyer said to me at one point, he said, you can't say anything about me. You're a drunk alcoholic in the eyes of everybody. And I was like, but I'm not. And he's like, it doesn't matter. And I was like, but
it's the way the system's set up.
Yeah. And then like to just think like, again,
that's
like,
why we have no one going to trial. That's why everyone takes pleas, because they stack so much.
Money maker, like you said in the book, you know, and especially in Arizona, if you learn about who's making money off the DUI machines, and you know, my idea is instead of going to jail for 15 days, why aren't I required to be a designated driver for all those hours?
Absolutely.
Stop the problem. Stop
go
people
work
from
at a
drinking
morgue.
driving.
Go spend 12 days doing community service at a DUI morgue.
Right.
Bet you don't do it ever.
Right.
I mean, honestly, it has to be something that's going to help recidivism. I mean, if you think about it, if what they were doing was working, then why are we building more?
Right.
Why are we agreeing to HIP bills or BLM land deals that have these hidden agendas with prisons tied into it? I just don't get it. And we didn't just wake up over the last 20 years and have 25% of the world's population committing more crime.
Right.
It didn't just happen that way.
Well, and we have like the biggest prison system there is. So if you study the American prison system, and I don't want to quote anything because I'm not that good, but like you can combine some of the largest countries there are, and it still doesn't equal to our prison systems. And so,
25% of the world's population is held in our prison system.
So, and it's mostly, let's be honest, black and brown men.
Absolutely.
Like, let's be real about it, right? And so, and again, if you study, it's a whole. There definitely was a plan devised to do this initially, and it's only been.
Look how far Arizona's taken it now. I know this border issue is a huge issue in our state, but realize that our
close to my heart on this one too.
And our state has realized that it's way easy to fill up those empty beds with illegals.
Right.
It's easy because they're low-lying fruit. It's an easy target. We need beds full. Arizona has a law wrote on the books that if the prison's not 95% full, then it sues the state. When it sues the state because those beds aren't full, who pays for that?
Right.
That's the taxpayer. The taxpayer covers that. Well, once the taxpayer realizes that, then they fight back. But they still have to fill the bed, right?
Right.
Well, we can't write all these crazy laws because the taxpayer's going to catch on.
Right.
Wait, we all hate the illegals.
Right. Yep.
Let's throw them in the cages.
Yep.
That'll fill the beds up quicker.
And why are we caging human beings?
Exactly.
Like, why is that the solution?
Absolutely.
It is absurd to me that that's even the solution. And again, I go back to what you said. Yes, there are some people who've done some really bad things, and yes, we should look at
evil.
We should look at how to figure that out. But certainly, there's a difference between someone who is raping, killing, and doing horrific things, and someone who has cannabis on them, or even is addicted to some other drug. Let's be real. Like, take any of the drug addicts that are in our Phoenix community. Do they deserve to have a lifelong prison sentence because of whatever has gotten them to a point where they're addicted to drugs? Not necessarily. Like, why don't we fix whatever is wrong with our culture and our society that keeps getting us here, as opposed to trying to do that.
Sending them to prison definitely isn't going to help out the drug issue.
No.
When drugs are cheaper and more readily available there, it just guarantees
And more
that they're
acceptable,
going to
right?
come
Isn't
back.
it like more acceptable too? I mean, I would think growing up, like we kind of, you know, like cannabis and alcohol is one thing, but like the other drugs are no-nos. If you go to prison where it's everyone's doing it, then to me,
You know, it's a different dynamic in prison. When I was down the first time, that was the way it was taught. 25 and under, you didn't touch dope. Period. If you touched dope, you got beat up. It didn't matter. And that's supposed to be the way it is now, but you know, prison's a bureaucracy as well, and people need to make money because you can't make a living in prison. And if drugs are that wheel, then drugs are that wheel. So sometimes it is what it is. You know, we had a rule that we didn't touch meth, but I was back in this time and I saw the opposite. I saw it everywhere.
everywhere.
So it really depends on what yard you're on, who's running what, how's it going to go. The main thing is this: it's prison.
Yeah.
Everyone's there for something, for a issue, a problem, an addiction, a crime, whatever it is. If you're there to get high, you're not going to go home.
Right.
And if you do, you're only going to come back. So if that's the dynamic, if that's what you're looking to do, then you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I looked at it a little different. I'm on a minimum yard. I'm going home. I want to see my wife and kids. Everyone else in here should too. If you don't, then I don't have time for you.
Right.
I kind of adopted the saying, you know, you're either on my side or in my way. And if you weren't on my side, then move.
Yeah.
There's a direction I'm going, and I want everyone to join. But I don't have time to stop and go, hey, you're blowing it way too bad. Because some of those guys, like I saw in there, they're not fixing it. They're not going to change. They're going to die in there. They're going to go back in there. And I can only help the ones who want to help themselves.
Do you think, like, knowing how fucked up our prison system is, and also with that, how fucked up our CPS, you know, systems are, is there an end to this? Like, is there a way to fix any of this shit? And not that, like, I expect you to have some miracle answer, by the way, because that's not it, but, like, do you, like, because for me, I'm going to be honest, and I come from, like, a make the world a better place, and I want to make the world a better place, but I also feel like I'm getting to an age and a point where I'm like, the bad might be starting to outweigh the good, and I don't know if my good can really weigh against all the bad, and so, you know, how do you feel about the fucked up system, and will we ever see in our lifetime a system that maybe isn't fucked up, whether it's corrupt or, you know, not a pipeline or any of, and maybe that's a really broad question, but.
You know, for me, the problem is money. If we could end the evil that money is,
Capitalism.
I think we'd have a change. I'm all about going back to the days of bartering, when you know what you bring to the table has value, because what I have has value, and together we're a team. But without love and without compassion, you're never going to have any of that. And I think, you know, for me, I was this hardened criminal, this hardened motorcycle club president, this felon, this prison guy this whole time. But through the journey of my book and documentary and story, I feel like I've been forced into this empathetic role now. I really feel like I take on that. And I get a phone call every day of, Chris, this guy's sick. This guy's getting out of prison. This woman's lost everything. And it's every day, and I feel it, and I wear it, and I hold it. And I have to breathe, and I have to stop, and I get that same question asked every day: how do you fix this? How do you make this better? And the first thing I do is I breathe. The first thing I do is I take that breath, and then I say a little prayer. And it's really an internal, just help me today. I need to focus. I need to center. But with the system and the political side, it's all about voting. People have to realize that they take our voice on purpose. I lost my right to vote at 18, and I didn't commit voter fraud, and I didn't hurt the government, and I didn't commit treason. But why is that the first thing we lose as felons, is the right to speak? So I think for those who can't speak, we change the minds of those who can. That's why I write. That's why I'm here at midnight at my shop speaking, because we change the voices of those who can vote. So for me, we've got to vote these people out, you know. The Sheila Polks, those of you who run unopposed because you fearmonger everyone away from it. We're coming for you. That's going to change.
Yes.
You know, most people would look at me and go, that's the last guy I want in government and the last guy in politics and the last, you know what? I'm just an honest guy. That
I was going to say, I want the honest guy who's, but even then, like, the idea that a politician hasn't done any, like, we're not perfect. So like smoking marijuana, smoking cannabis, like this is, especially when you're doing it for health reasons, by the way, like, so ridiculous.
Think outside the box.
Yeah, right. But when we have, again, like politicians who've done horrible things, and we have Me Too movements, and we have crazy shit happening, I would way rather the honest guy who says, look, I know I'm a little fucked up because I've been through some fucked up shit, but I'm going to do it the right way. And like you're saying, with love and with passion and with dedication, which you can totally have, like tell that you have, which is just really refreshing. And you could tell the first time, you know, meeting you that you're a genuine soul. So, yeah.
I try. You know, I have the hashtag haters make me famous. And a lot of people use that as a negative. And they think I'm using it to promote negative. And it's kind of the opposite. I'm one of those guys that, you know, I'm very in your face, I'm very forward, but like you said, I'm also compassionate, and haters make me famous comes from a good place. It comes from, no one knew Zonka. Nobody knew this small Kansas, small town guy that was making candy bars and giving them to people. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew anything about this Prescott family donating stuff. Nobody. Until they wanted to blast us in the news and win their case in the media and make us look like child abusers and just these evil people, and it blew up in their face. So that's where haters make me famous came from. Nobody knew my story. Nobody knew anything about us until they wanted to make us look bad.
Well, I think people need to know the story today because it's such an important one. People need to not be afraid to tell their story if they have it, right? So it's important that your voice was taken, but when you have an opportunity to have that voice back, that you do use it, right? That you're not silent. So I commend you for not being silent and for, you know,
it's
writing
scary not to be silent, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. How scary is it to speak and come out?
For sure.
Look, there's stuff in that book that it's not like once you read it that everything goes away.
Yeah, for sure.
There's going to be other issues, I'm sure, that may come from this, and it's not like I'm not aware of that.
Yeah.
But if someone doesn't stand up and fight, if someone doesn't battle this thing head on, maybe it's my kid that deals with it next time.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
That won't happen on my watch. That's why this book, this doco, this story, this movement, it's about everybody. You know, it says the Chris Martin story. That's just because I chose to lay on the whole floor in prison with golf pencils and write it. And that's it.
So, when you were writing this, obviously you didn't know. I'm over here, some deep stuff. So, first of all, reading, like I said, I mean, there were some parts that were very hard to read, just being honest. As easy of a read as it was, because it was well written, there were parts that were, I mean, it's a real story. So it was real.
And there's no warning shots. It's very, whoa.
Yes. And so.
But such is life, right?
For sure.
If we had warning shots walking through life, it'd be pretty boring. We'd all know what's up. So.
For sure. Well, so I have some questions that, you know, maybe you can answer. I'm going to look at my list because I know the answer. I've asked you a bunch of them, but I want to make sure I ask you some. Yes, well, at least the like really important ones. So I know you, in the book it mentions a lot about your upbringing and alcohol and abuse. How does that play into your life today with alcohol? Is alcohol, do you consume alcohol? No alcohol.
I've had my time. You know, when I was with the club, I drank.
Okay.
I was well on my path of repeating history, and you know, divine interventions have happened for me along this path, and somehow I acquired a disease that doesn't allow me to drink. And for me, it was a blessing.
And that's the Crohn's
That's
disease.
the Crohn's.
Is that okay?
Crohn's will not allow me to drink it.
And what is Crohn's disease?
Crohn's is the inflammation of the lower ileum or the bowels. I compare it to food poisoning meets the flu.
Okay.
So it's like the moment I eat something, everything goes bad. I just don't feel very well. And then when you go into flare up, it's your organs are trying to get out of your body. They don't want to be there anymore. So I just tell everyone I hate my guts. That's the best way. I have Crohn's, I hate my guts, it sucks. But cannabis has been the best way that I've ever found to fight and put it in remission.
CBD and THC?
Yeah, CBD was obviously a new thing to me as of around 2014, but blessing just the same. Now I'm on a full regimen of both.
So when you say full regimen of both, so does that mean daily you're taking CBD and THC and making sure it's always within your system?
Always. Every day I take as much as my body can withstand.
So a lot of people think they can just take like, oh, I'm just going to do 5 CBD gummy bears today, and that's, I'm going to feel great.
We're all different, but like in my case, I have to have RSO. I have to have cannabis in my system to keep the Crohn's in remission.
Rick Simpson oil.
Rick Simpson oil,
Sorry,
definitely. It's
just gotta
medicine.
tell me. We don't. That
No, Rick Simpson oil, Fico, Phoenix Tears. I take a full 00 capsule. I took that to come here and do the interview.
Wow.
Most people would take that to sleep for 3 days.
I put like a tiny drop of RSO on my finger and rub it on my gums.
Yeah, I go through a 35 ml syringe a month.
Wow. That's a lot. People just don't know.
And most people, you do the 90-day regimen to fight the cancer. Well, I just never stopped because when I get off the medicine, then I flare. So I'm just going to eat as much as I can until I am not breathing. I mean,
that's one way to do it.
well, I look at it like this. Even if I were to go and have another PET scan or another colonoscopy and they said, look, Chris, you're covered. What am I going to do? I'm going to go home, I'm going to go eat a bunch of RSO, and I'm going to do the same thing I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So I would never do chemo radiation.
I'm with you on that one. I don't think people, like you said, you discovered CBD in 2014. I know I didn't discover it until this year. And I think there's still so many people out there that don't even have a clue what CBD is. I mean, they just literally had no clue what it is. So can you maybe, and we've touched on this on other episodes, but for anyone who's watching for a first time or anything, and I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but what exactly is CBD and how is it different from THC?
It's the way I explain it to people, it's kind of like the red onion, yellow onion thing, green pepper, yellow pepper thing, same family, different background, profile, makeup. CBD is more of your anti-inflammatory, pain relief, anxiety relief, antimicrobial, antifungal, where THC is more your pain relief and your psychoactive effect. So we're all different and we're all made up different. So it really just depends. I don't ever tell anyone you should take this or you should take. Hey, start here, you let me know.
Yeah.
Right? We're all just so different that I think whole plant is the way to go. I only did hemp because I went to prison for cannabis. I did hemp out of necessity, staying relevant, fighting my case, paying my rent, feeding my children, but also to show the differences and the likenesses in both and why we need them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I'm going to get back to the book for a moment because I have some more questions. So looking at my questions.
Yeah.
There's some lines in the book that just really kind of grabbed me, and one of them was when you talked about, sorry if I get emotional, this is your emotion, but again, it was hard to read, and it's hard to talk about. One of them was when you were talking about how you kind of tricked your kids a little bit. You didn't tell them that you were going to be leaving that day, and you wrote, there's no such thing as deceiving someone for their own good. And I was like,
well, you've always heard that as a kid. It's okay to lie to somebody as long as you're not hurting them. A little white lie never hurt anybody.
As long as...
Well, I'm here to tell you that that's garbage. It's just not true, and I felt it all the way up the hill when I knew I bullshitted them. We do a thing in my house called high-low at dinner, and it's a mandatory. And if you're a guest, you're involved. My children are very proud of it, and when new people are around, they love to show it off. It's just where you go around and each person gets 3 or 4 minutes to tell their high point of the day or their low point, or actually both. And you can't interrupt. You have to hear and listen, and you have to give feedback. So it guarantees that I got 5 minutes of my kids' attention, and I know what's going on in their life, and I just felt like it brings us closer. What I didn't know is that they love it more than I do. And I thought I was the only one that was going to miss it, and that I was the only one that really dug it, until I was sitting in that courtroom, and I realized I lied to them, that I wasn't coming home. And I was more mad at myself that I lied to them than I was not coming home, because they had prepared themselves for 3.5 years, and eventually that I might not come home, but we had prepared ourselves, and today's the day.
Yeah, and you didn't really give them. You took that option away from them because you made that decision, right?
I took it away for 2 reasons. I took it away because I don't have the heart to hurt them. I don't have the ability to look at them and go, okay, we're gonna tough it up right now, guys, and I'm gonna leave. And I just did not have it in me.
Sure. Parenting's not easy.
I really didn't. I didn't have the right answer. I didn't know what I was doing. And 2, I felt like, it's a lot easier to do it later. It's a lot easier to ask for their forgiveness afterwards. It might not be the right choice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure now if you ask them, they'd probably tell you, I wish you would have done it differently. I just felt like at the time, my wife needed my kids to be strong, and vice versa. And the less people that were crumbling at the seams all at the same time just gave the ability for my wife to survive and those chances to be a lot better.
Well, and 2, and maybe I'm crazy to say this because I shouldn't, say how you feel, but maybe there was a little selfish part of you that also needed them to be together for you. You know what I mean? Like you needed everyone not to crumble at that moment so that you could stay strong.
My wife's cousin Jay had lived with us for 5 or 6 years at that point, and on the same week I was finding out that I was being sentenced, he was moving out. And I literally, the night before court, came to my wife and said, I'm done, I'm gone. I grabbed him and pulled him close and was like, Jay, I can't lose you right now. My wife and children need you right now. If it means I pay you to stay here, I'm broke, but I'll do it. I just, my family, out of desperation. And that's where the cafe came from. That's where the retail store came from. That's where every single brand and product you're looking at, the book, everything. When you're told you're going to go to prison for 127 years, and your best case scenario is 30.
Can't even imagine.
You know what it taught me? These last 12 years, all those people that I've donated stuff to, all those terminally ill patients that I've gone to funerals, viewings, wakes, that's what they felt. So that feeling of, man, your cancer's terminal, you've got 9 months to live. Now never will I ever compare my sentence to a terminal illness. But it was a glimpse, it was a split second of hopelessness, of, holy shit. You don't realize how hard you'll fight. You really don't realize how much you'll risk everything for somebody else.
Well, and I think that's interesting. So going back to, your story, and again, like, not everyone would be able to do all this, though. Like, there's lots of people who are facing life sentences for whatever reason, who aren't able to get their shit together for whatever reason and do all this. So there's something different or unique about you and your family. Whether or not you know or can pinpoint that is a whole nother story. But I think that it says something, and that it's a testament to, determination and not giving up, and, That's huge.
When I was a little dude growing up in the group homes, my biggest fear was that somebody at school would find me. Because I was the quarterback, I was the pitcher, I was the new guy. I had moved around so much. I was the cute boy that was at the new school. I mean, I had all these roles and all these titles and all this stuff. I was the oldest brother of 8 kids. I was, I had all these name tags. And it mattered to me that no one found out who or where I came from. Because I thought all that would be crushed. It wouldn't matter that I could throw a ball 70 yards if they knew my mom hit me. Or if they knew that my dad never came around. Or that, my sister was a junkie. I mean, that I was so worried that all that would be jeopardized. All I'd worked to change would be ruined. And then as I got older and I walked in, I realized that none of it mattered. That, my message and my walk here has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with my story. It's for everyone else. I knew as a kid, and even as that kid in a group home, I was here to help the kid not in a group home. The kid that played ball and hated his parents because his life sucked so bad, living with both of them. Well, I got to show him what it was like on my side. And then he got to go home and hug mom and dad a little bit more. I knew then my walk was bigger than me. That's why now, 43 years old, when I get a call, hey, do you want to come speak, or do you want to come sit, or do you want to write, or do you want to come listen? Do you want to hear this woman's story of her sick child? Or I do all of it because my story, my walk, isn't about, never has been.
Oh goodness. Such an emotional book and such an emotional story, and I'm a crier anyways. Oh my goodness.
Bad combo.
So let me look at my guy and see how much do we have a lot longer. So
15
that
minutes.
Okay. I just want to know how deep I can, how much deeper I can go.
Without Kleenex.
Yeah, right. I don't have any. Okay, so. Okay. Sorry, it's deep on that. Okay, so. Some fun questions, I think, that I just kind of had throughout the book and at the ending. Maybe it's fun. Maybe they're fun for me. Either. I don't know about you. So in the beginning of the book, and I'm the type of girl who I hate movies because at the end I really want to know like way more than what they tell you, right? So
that's why we did the doco.
I'm like, well, I can't wait to watch, but I'm going to ask you questions anyway. So you mentioned, I want to say 2 girls in your youth that were pretty important, and I'm going to be honest, the most important name in my head is your wife, so I don't remember their names. No, I remember Andy's names. I don't remember the other 2 girls' names. But in doing all of this, have paths crossed at all? Do they know that you're now on this path? And I guess I was reading saying
they both know. Actually, both the names. I changed their names in the book. I changed almost everyone's name in the book to protect the innocent. The only names I didn't change in the book technically would be the police, or the detectives, or anyone who kind of did us crooked. So we kept their names in there, and I'm not really afraid of them. I don't really care.
Well, and that was my other question was the guys that were crooked
Yeah, my
in this
co-defendant,
industry.
I blasted him. They're in
So like those names, like
they're
the
blasted.
names, those are their real names.
Yes, ma'am.
And if they are ever in the industry and want to do business with me, I
I
will
want everyone
run
to know.
the F away from them.
I want everyone to know.
I just wasn't.
Well, and it's also
Sure,
public
makes sense.
record. That's what I want other people to understand. Like, some people might look at it like, well, he went to prison. Doesn't he think he's snitching? Well, you can't snitch on somebody when it's public record. If you go to the Arizona Corporate Commission and you pull up Zonka, anything Zonka, well, I own Zonka gear and Zonka bar and anything else. Well, now Zonka Meds has been on there since 2014, since after my raid, and it's all the co-defendants. And they're lawyers. So, I mean, it's public record.
Right.
I'm just kind of throwing it out there to people to go, like, how did this happen? Like, even when I wrote the Bar of Arizona, they write back and tell me, well, if your judge rules that your lawyer broke the law, then we'll look at it. Well, how would they do that if that lawyer signed the plea with a snitch and got out of the case 2 years before?
Right.
it's just to bring awareness. It's
Yeah.
just to show and offer.
Okay. Well, that was definitely. I was like, are those names real? Do I need to stay away from those people?
No, and most of the other names aren't real, mainly because a few things. You know, I gotta protect my wife.
For sure.
You know, my wife walked this whole story again and again and again with ex-girlfriends and ex-family.
So Debbie's not really Debbie, huh?
No.
Is there a part of you? I feel like you know Andy because of Debbie, but I feel like Debbie is also a catalyst, not on purpose, Debbie, but a catalyst to why all this shit happened to you, right? Like, wasn't it her dickhead boyfriend that kind of got a hard on for making your life hell? I mean, I kind of read this book, and like I said,
You can piece it together.
I was like, this guy has a hard on.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
He's got a fucking mission at this point.
Absolutely.
Like, there is something not right with
Something-
this guy.
there's
He's
something
really
there.
just, I mean, he had it out for you,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. So, okay.
Yeah, I only kept the names of the people I wanted people to see and go, oh, piece of crap. I changed everyone else's, not only to protect them, but to protect us. I mean, someone could read that. Look, it's my memory.
For sure.
You know, it's not everyone else's. I'm
Right.
sure there's going to be a million people that are going to go, wait, that didn't happen like that, or I don't remember that like that. And that's another reason. I don't feel like getting sued by 40 people
Right.
that go, wait, I'm not sure if that's correct. Or
Right.
maybe I want to be looked at like this. Or,
Right.
So it's really about the message, and
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to make it about.
Well, I thought it was an amazing message. Like you said, I mean, I read the book and I was angry. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this interview. I'm going to finish this book. And I'm like angry. Is he going to and then when I got to the end and there was the lightness, it was refreshing as a reader because you don't want to.
You don't want to leave like that.
Yeah, you don't, and then I don't want to interview you and come here
Right.
angry, like, you made me angry.
Right.
If anything, honestly, at the end of the book, I think I was hopeful.
Yeah.
I think that's how it left me, was hopeful, even though, again, often
Yeah.
I feel hopeless in this fucked up matrix that we're like, I'm not gonna lie, we live in a fucking matrix and I ain't controlling shit.
Right.
So, but I finished this book and I read the last page and I breathed and I know obviously that there's a positive ending to your story, and so that was refreshing. And I think for me, I can only hope that more people will be willing to do what's right when it's not easy, right? Because that's part of it. I hope that more people will stand up and make it known that cannabis is a plant and it's medicine and it's amazing.
It's okay.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay for kids to see it. It's okay for kids to see you smoke it, drink it, eat it, however you consume it, take it. It's medicine. They watch you take Advil, they watch you take alcohol, and they watch you take food and vitamins and all the other things. So it's
Sugar.
just right, and it's just another vitamin is the way I look at it. So, yeah, I just think it's amazing that, like I said, you told your story. I can't say enough how much I appreciate you taking the time this evening. I know it's late at night to watch with us and our viewers. I know we have about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to see if I have any other questions, but I think I hit most of them on the head. Yeah, I asked most of them. So I think just my last things for you would be, what thoughts do you have, and if there's any messages, that you have for someone who may be a struggling youth in the foster system that's going through some shit, or a teen who's maybe lost their way and feels alone, which I definitely felt from your book. That was, loneliness was a big part of your life.
I think that's why I grasped and reached out to, attention, you know me, hi, how are you? I think that's why, because of that loneliness. I think the best message I could give to anyone out there that's in that position, especially a child, is just remember you're not stuck. You're not there forever. They can't keep you a child forever, and then the clock never stops ticking. I think I can remember telling myself that as a kid all the time. It's like, I'm almost 18. I'm almost 18. I can hear the clock ticking. I'm almost 18. Just remember there's people out there that love you. I never got told that other than my CASA worker as I got older. And I think that's huge for these kids to understand that they're not just a number, that they're not just another, case number, file number.
Fuck up. They're
They're
not just
not.
another fuck
You know,
up.
I think that's the
They're not
problem
bad
now. Is
kids.
the system's so quick to throw a title on you.
Yeah.
You know, you're a child in need of care, or
Yeah.
you're a felon, or you know, you've always
Or
got
a ward of the state.
word
Like,
of
what
this.
kind of,
Yeah, I
what
mean,
does that mean?
and what's the end result?
Right.
What's the future for any of these guys? I just wish we had more attention brought to the system and the problem of our system. Because you know the whole cliche of the children are our future. It's the truth.
That is the truth.
Who's gonna take care of you when you can't wipe your butt? It's
Yeah.
gonna be the kids that all got shit on
Yeah.
and left behind. And I don't want to be the guy that sat around and watched and said that he didn't do his best to try. I was that guy that sat on bleachers and stole food from the grocery store to live. You know, I didn't steal to be cool. I
Right.
stole to eat. I didn't go back to the group homes because I didn't want that kind of life. I wanted a better life, and I felt like I could give that to me on the streets. No kid should ever feel that, ever. And if you are feeling that, reach out, ask for help, talk to anyone. My organization alone, any one of them will help you. The problem with all the felonies I have, they try to prevent your work with children.
Ah,
So
stupid.
we're working on nonprofit through LLC to be able to set up to help the kids. I just have to do it different ways now because I'm such a bad guy. So.
There was a person who seemed to play a positive light in the book throughout the whole book for you. And I was happy also at the end to see a photo of him with you, right? That
Yeah.
was going to be at Dave. So is he still in your life?
Yeah.
Is Dave still in your life?
Dave was my CASA worker. Real quick with Dave. Dave came in with 2 years left of my juvenile experience in group home. So by the time he got there, I was pretty hardened. Didn't really need a lot of new adult friends that
You
were
did not want
part
him in
of
your
the
life
system.
at all.
Well, he's this little sawed-off Mexican fat guy that looks like Danny DeVito, really poor jokes, and just I'm a sarcastic, arrogant teenager that really didn't like him. And he sent me mail and wants to be my friend and tells me that what CASA is. And CASA is a court-appointed special advocate. They go into court and they speak for the kids. So. That's what else I'd like to say is if there's parents or people, adults out there that want to help these kids, join CASA. No money out of your pocket, it's all volunteer. CASA makes a difference. Dave was a volunteer. Dave came in, saw my caseload, went to my social worker and said, hey, I can help. I want to talk to the judge. So we get in front of the judge, and he's the guy that actually speaks on my behalf. It tells him, look, he's been through 30 placements, never committed a felony. Why? Why is he not in a foster home? Why is he in a group home? He's the guy that'll really get you at where you're supposed to be.
Who can speak on your behalf in a way
Yes.
that you can't speak as a
Yes,
young
where you don't
adult.
get to even talk. They don't talk to you at all.
At 16 or
No.
18, the verbiage
No.
or the eloquence to be able to say what a grown-up could say to another grown-up. So
Well,
yes, you need those people.
And for me, Dave was that divine intervention. Dave was that angel that was put in my life.
Yes.
That's why I knew what my role was.
So we need more days.
Because Dave made me a Dave. Dave taught me how to be a Dave. So we need more Daves, big time. Dave and I lost touch when I was, once I hit 18, I dropped out of high school. I was doing acid and everything else I could get. I was sad, I was mad, I was hurt, I was broke, I had no family. But I could still throw a ball. And I got recruited to play at Yavapai. Dave sent me out, said, go, get gone, get out of here before you ruin everything. And I never talked to him again. Well, when I got busted with the joint, Dave's the one who bailed me out,
Yeah.
and then we never spoke again. I felt like it was his adult way of saying, you gotta grow up, son, I can't bail you out anymore. And I took it as, oh fine, another adult walked out on me, great. I went off to do what I do. During the book and the documentary, we started shooting. Everyone kept asking me, where's Dave, where's Dave? We gotta find Dave. We gotta talk to him. We hired a private investigator, and within 2 days they found him, and it was amazing. It just confirmed everything about this whole story, that it was planned out well before I walked in, and I'm just the recipient. In finding Dave, they asked me to come back and speak on his behalf to CASA for their national fundraiser in September. Wow. I spoke in front of the very judges and social workers who sent me to boys' homes. I spoke in front of police officers who arrested my mother. I spoke to 200 people that probably looked at me in a whole nother light 20 years ago. And I got to be the keynote speaker, tell my story, tell why CASA is very important and why I think everyone should give all their money to CASA.
Yes.
Well, it was amazing. It was I don't know anything else that was more full circle other than the book and the doco than going back and speaking at CASA. I spoke at the Topeka Country Club as a keynote, like as a boy from Topeka who lived in foster homes. We drove by the Topeka Country Club, looking out the window.
Never thought you'd be inside there.
Yeah, it was like Orphan Annie looking
Right.
at that place.
Right.
Like, what's that like?
Yeah.
I have video of me speaking there. So.
Those are proud moments. They're
Pretty
definitely
great.
moments of life to,
Full circle.
For sure. Well, goodness, I just can't say enough, like, how thankful I am for this interview. I think we've gone pretty deep into it all. I'm going to be honest, when the documentary comes out, I'm probably going to want to come back and chat with you after I watch it if I can keep my composure.
We'll do a big showing. We're going to
Yeah.
do a big red carpet private showing for the
Well, I'd love to be there. If the Bud Show in some way could be there too, we'd love to be there supporting and just in any way a part of it. And I can't say enough how much I genuinely appreciate you sharing your story and being so open and honest with us. And we definitely only got to the tip of the iceberg. I mean, and there's only more tip of iceberg in here. I mean, this does not go
Right.
into the glacier, I'm sure. But I just, again, thank you for sharing your story, not just with me, but with everybody. I think there's definitely people in Arizona now who know of you, and I think there's people who still don't, and I hope that we can make sure they do. I think that everyone needs to know this story. I think that people who are in the cannabis industry should know about the people that were on the front lines, making it possible for them to do what they're doing today. So again, I can't say thank you enough to you. As somewhat newbie in the industry, I appreciate those that have paved the way before me, and for us to be here. If it wasn't for people willing to risk and to toe the gray line, then this industry wouldn't be here. We'd still be buying drugs from the corner guy, which wasn't necessarily horrible, but we certainly didn't understand the medicinal properties or anything else that came with cannabis in that way. So there's so many things that come from it. So thank you again. This is Chris Martin with Hempful Farms, right?
Yeah.
So where can our wonderful audience find you, this book, and the documentary?
Yeah, the book and the documentary will be on the chrismartinstory.com. You can go on and order. I think we have like 10 hemp copies left that are signed and numbered. Once they're gone, they're gone. They're limited edition. And then the paper copies on there as well. And the documentary should be available on there in January. And then we'll go to films, festivals, and try to get it out there in other places. Hempfulfarms.com is for the product. You can go on and find all our Pop Honey Pet stuff and all our Hempful products there. And then we have 3 locations. We have Hempful Farms Phoenix at 1756 West Bell. That's where we are now. And then we have Hempful Farms Chico that we opened up in June in Northern California. And we are doing a grand opening in Los Lunas, New Mexico in March.
What?
Yeah.
High five on that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Way to go. Well, we look forward to being able to follow your continued, I'm going to say success, but just making waves, man. So thank you. Thank you to all of our viewers for watching and listening tonight or tomorrow or whenever you get to check this out. But I definitely hope that you check this interview out. I'm very blessed to be here and sharing stuff with you that's happening in the cannabis industry. This is definitely important to be talking about. And with that, if you have a cannabis story that you want to share, definitely reach out to us, and we're happy to help you share it. We can't do all this capacity, don't get me wrong. We don't do books or documentaries, but we do want to help patients share their stories and talk about why they're medicating. We want patients to know about different diseases that are out there and ways that cannabis can help them, so that they don't have to be on pharmaceuticals and horrible meds from an industry that doesn't give a shit about them. So yeah, keep watching The Bud Show. Thank you again. Have a good night, everybody. Good night.